Okay, I thought this time we would read all of Exodus chapter 15. And I was intrigued to see the first words of this chapter yesterday upon completing chapter 14 and see that they break into song. Then Moses sang, and the sons of Israel, this song to the Lord. And they said, "Sing we to the Lord, for he is magnified gloriously. He casted down the whores and the stair into the sea. My strength and my praising is the Lord, and he has made to me into health. This is my God, and I shall glorify him, the God of my father, and I shall enhance him. The Lord is as a man fighter. His name is Almighty. He cast down into the sea the chariots of Pharaoh and his host. His chosen princes were drenched in the Red Sea. The deep waters held them. They yaden down into the depth as a stone. Lord, thy right hand is magnified in strength. Lord, thy right hand smote the enemy. And in the mitchelness of thy glory, thou hast put down all mine adversaries. Thou sentest thine ire that devoured them as stubble. And waters were gathered in the spirit of the woodness. Flowing water stood, deep waters were gathered in the midst of the sea. The enemy said, I shall pursue, and I shall take, and I shall depart spoils, my soul shall be filled. I shall draw out my sword, mine hand shall slay them. Thy spirit blew, and the sea held them. They were drenched as lead in great waters. Lord, who is like thee in strong men? Who is like thee? Thou art great doer of holiness, fearful and praisable, and doing miracles. Thou heldest forth thine hand, and the earth devoured them. Thou wert leader in thy mercy to thy people, which thou again boughtest, and thou hast bore them in thy strength in thine holy dwelling place. People stayed in and were in wrath, sorrows held in the dwellers of Philistine. Then the princes of Edom were disturbed. Trembling held the strong men of Moab. All the dwellers of Canaan were in stark. Inward dread fall on them, and outward dread in the greatness of thine arm. Be they made immovable as a stone, till thy people pass. Lord, till this thy people pass, whom thou wieldest. Thou shalt bring them in, and thou shalt plant in the hill of thine heritage, in the most steadfast dwelling place which thou hast wrought. Lord, thy servantary, which thine hands made steadfast. The Lord shall reign into the world of further. For so with Pharaoh a rider entered with his chariots and knights into the sea, and the Lord brought the waters of the sea on them. So they lay the sons of Israel yaden by the dry place in the midst of the sea. Therefore Mary, prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timpan in her hand, and all the women yaden out after her with timpans and companies. To which she sung before, and said, Sing we to the Lord, for he is magnified gloriously. He casted down into the sea the horse and the stair of him. For so with Moses took Israel from the Red Sea, and they yaden out in the desert of Sur. Yaden 3 days by the wilderness, and they found not water. And they came in into Marath, and they might not drink the waters of Marath, for thou weren bitter, and wherefore, and he put a covenantable name to the place, and clept it Marah, that is, bitterness. And the people grudged against Moses, and said, What shall we drink? And Moses cried to the Lord, Which should to him a tree, and when he had put the tree into waters, the wine turned into sweetness. There the Lord ordained commandments and domes to the people, and there he said to the people, essayed to the people, and said, If thou shalt hear the voice of thy God, and thou shalt do that is rightful before him, and shalt obey to his commandments, and shalt keep all his heasts, I shall not bring in on thee all the sickness which I put it in Egypt, for I am thy Lord Savior. And now let's read King James. Interesting, he's mentioning commandments, but he hasn't given the commandments as of yet. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him an habitation. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war, the Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them, they sank it into the bottom as a stone. Thy right hand, O Lord, is become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, hath dashed in pieces the enemy. And in greatness of thine excellency thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sentest forth my wrath, which consumed them as stubble, and with blast of thy nostrils the waters were gathered together, the flood stood upright as an heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hands shall destroy them. Thou didst blow with thy wind, the sea covered them, they sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like unto thee, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? Thou stretched out thy right hand, the earth swallowed them. Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitation. The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take on the inhabitants of Palestina. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, shall take hold upon them. All the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of thine arm they shall be as still as a stone, till thy people pass over, O Lord, till the people pass over which thou hast purchased. Thou shalt bring them in and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which thy hands have established. The Lord shall reign forever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and with his horsemen into the sea, and the Lord brought again the waters of the sea upon them. But the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea. And Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The Lord and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness, and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord shewed him a tree, which, when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them, and said, If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. And they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water, 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. And so ends chapter 15. Yeah, we'll have to bring up Ron Wyatt's video to show more of the discoveries he made in the 80s relative to this account here. And a couple things struck me as I was reading this. Palestine is mentioned here in verse 14, and the mighty man of Moab. Now today, the people who engage in war call Moab mother of all bombs. So interesting how they come up with these acronyms that tie into ancient words and titles. Now here, Philistine is in verse 14 in the Wycliffe version, Philistine with a F, but when you get to here, Palestina, so I guess the name changed, or it was known by both names, one name in a previous period and another at a different time. I'm not really sure, that's speculation. So I'll stop the speculation and stop the video. Bye.